Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Crypto Modernization at the Network Level. My name is Mitch Marchand, Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Keyfactor, and today I am joined by Dave and Meg from QSecure, and they're going to be talking about how post-quantum cryptography is actually just one facet of a larger idea that you need to be thinking about, which is crypto modernization. And they take it actually a network based approach as opposed to an extensive application level change that would be required to go through and work with your crypto libraries in the actual application. And this is a part of our Technology Alliance Partners webinar series. So if you haven't already, make sure you check out our previous editions where we've really dove into QRNG or quantum random number generation. But again, today we're going to be taking a different look at it. As always, whenever we're looking at a webinar over on the right hand side, you can check out the attachments to see we've got some great links in there. Also, please make sure to toss in any questions that you've got. We'll be able to get those answered for you. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Dave and Meg.
We're very excited to be here today and discuss a little bit of the collaboration between QSecure and Keyfactor. My name is Meg Gleason. I am head of product at QSecure and here with the fabulous Dave Crothamer. He is our field CTO. Dave, super excited for the conversation today.
It's great to be here with you today, Meg. So,
Let's kick it off. When we think about, you know, QSecure, we're in essentially post-quantum cryptography, securing network communications, and then Keyfactor, which is, a PKI giant and leader in this space. And for those who maybe don't know, like intimately what PKI is, it's a public key infrastructure, which is basically the background, your backbone of digital trust. So when we go onto our internet and you look in your browser and you see the lock, it's that technology behind it to make sure that when you're online, you're reaching the endpoint that you intend to. It's your bank's website and not some fake, bad actor. But it's everywhere and it's been around since late 70s. But there seems to be this fundamental shift occurring here, where quantum computing is coming in and there's this wave of technology, and it's really confusing for a lot of folks. It's easy to kind of get lost in the superposition of quantum, kind of a bad pun there. But when we think about this new wave of modern technology that's coming up and these new threat vectors, want to just kind of unpack with you, Dave, like what is there really to dig into here? What's the underlying theme? And as we marry these two things, the foundation of PKI, upcoming threats with quantum, really what's the signal here to pay attention to? And is there a larger theme at play?
yeah, I think we hear a lot about post quantum. It's in most conversations, but post quantum is just better math. It's just taking the math or the algorithms used and upgrading them to the next math. So the thing we hear about post quantum is really just a relatively small piece of what's coming. And what's coming, or the real broader theme, is this crypto modernization. And so we haven't really had to worry about the cryptography we use. The math's been unbreakable. It's been really solid keys, algos. But we're moving into a world where there's a lot of threads happening. One is a move to zero trust, because our networks the internet was developed on this concept of trust everyone. So there's some broader themes. Additionally, that this crypto now is breaking down, not just with quantum, but with AI attacks, brute force attacks, down rev versions of TLS. So there's a lot of vulnerabilities in our networks now. We have a customer who has upwards of 7,000 applications with embedded cryptography, and a lot of that stuff's not monitored. Said that's only like 25% of the companies out there actually monitor their crypto. And so there's a lot of flawed implementations. And so this crypto modernization thing, which post-quantum better algos is a piece of, is part of a broader theme of we need intelligent cryptographic management and networks. So I think it's really important to kind of zoom out from post-quantum and piece all the little things that are happening around zero trust, around extended identity, around policy enforcement. And this is where, having a solution like Keyfactor, the PKI solution, is upgrading to post-quantum, and then having a network-based solution like QSecure handle the secure comms really gives you a holistic kind of next-gen crypto modernization. And love
Love
to.
that. Yeah, and it's a totally different way, I think, to reframe the problem and challenge before us, and it's big. Can you kind of walk me through how to consider this when we think about our networks and something like the OSI stack, bottom to top? How does QSecure come together with Keyfactor to provide that more holistic solution? If we can dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think organizations are trying to figure out kind of how do we function in this journey towards crypto modernization. We have really complicated networks. We've got IoT devices, we've got planes, we've got bank accounts, and they're secured in different ways. And so I think, what do I do on this journey? So if you look at PKI has done a great job of creating identity and securing who you are and the cryptography you use and the keys. And now the journey in PKI is really, how do I make that crypto agile? How do I upgrade that? Our feeder into that is we go back into the network and create a secure communication layer. We break out the control and the data plane, and then create actually a physical digital security from end to end. And so I think, we function at each layer of the OSI stack. So at layer 2, we function inside the routers as an agentic solution. And then as you go up the app layer, we function as a proxy. And then up to layer 7, we interrogate traffic coming in. So I think that having a holistic approach where you can basically meet the need wherever you are. If it's a cert-based solution that we interoperate with Keyfactor, and we can support having post-quantum hybrid certs or post-quantum certs, but then we can also kind of function at each layer of the network stack, and then upgrade that communication to being policy-driven, telemetry back, et cetera, et cetera.
Thanks, Dave. And you said something early on that I think is critical for us to dig into, which is the concept of crypto agility, and that the role of bringing agility to this management as we consider this upgrade, and as we consider all the areas where protection needs to be applied. And crypto agility has kind of become a buzzword, I think, in this conversation, and we're seeing it. NIST just put forth, their second draft of advisement on how to think about crypto agility, how to enable it. We're thankful to have had some of our comments incorporated in that guidance, and would love for you just to kind of explain, for maybe those who don't understand or know really what crypto agility looks like in practice, how can it truly be realized?
Yeah, it's a great question. Post quantum's kind of a buzzword. Crypto agility is a buzzword, but we think of crypto agility fundamentally means is, can I swap out the cryptography at any point, at any time, based on the need? But we view it as a broader. The A in agility is the big A, and that means, can I swap out keys, key sizes, key durations? Can I swap out the cryptography, both asymmetric, symmetric? Can I swap out the libraries? Because we're moving to a world now where people aren't just accepting there's one kind of algorithm. Each country is going to have their own deployment. So we're going to need this translator, this crypto agile translator that sits between everything and goes, well, I'm talking to Frotocam, I'm talking to Germany, and now I'm talking about a post-quantum cam here and one in the US that's a different library. I need to rotate the keys, and then I need to enforce different policies based on compliance regimens. So we look at crypto agility as this big, broad thing that says, all of a sudden I'm in a world where I need to talk different languages, different crypto, different key structures, and I need to be able to do it in real time. And so QSecure gives you this crypto agile network mesh. So we function at the network layer. Think of us like as SD-WAN for crypto, where you can control big swaths of a network. Let's say I have 1 million cell phones and I want to swap out the algorithms, that I can do that kind of a push button type of style. And we've been very fortunate. We've been focusing on crypto agility for a couple of years. I think Forrester just generated a real detailed analysis, the Architect's Guide, and our input was heavily used in that. So I think we're moving towards these agile networks related to cryptography. We haven't had to worry about it before. It's becoming a big thing in this crypto modernization effort. So.
Absolutely. And I think digging into that a little bit further, the network-based approach, there are a couple different ways to tackle this problem, but we've really honed in on the network-based approach. And you spoke to a little bit earlier that this, in tandem with Keyfactor, provides a really comprehensive solution. But for those who may be conceptualizing it a little bit differently, why is the network the way to really think about solving this problem?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's many different ways to slice this. One traditional way is I get an SDK and I just update all my source code, and I just embed the crypto's embedded in a lot of that app layer. That's challenging because if I'm a large corporation, just the effort associated with that it's a big lift. So the network-based approach, just a little architecturally, we have an orchestrator that sits either in the cloud or on a server, or even an air gap solution for high security efforts. So when we extend this out into the network and have these network elements, it gives us really fine-grained control around how we deploy. And so from an organizational perspective, it makes the deployment much easier. I can drop the orchestrator in the cloud. I can drop cryptographic modules, and then I have full cryptographic fine-grained control. So I think our approach has been different. Our network-centric approach, Heal the Network, is definitely a different approach. And for a lot of large organizations and mid-sized organizations, it gives them full control plane control over the communication session, but with a way to deploy it easily and like.
And that's so critical. And if we look at kind of bringing this down into industry and like specifics of use cases, just to make it really real, working with financial sector, banks and telecoms, and our work with the Air Force and US Army, these are networks that have had a lot of investment put into them. There's a lot of infrastructure here, and taking this approach to really kind of build onto those investments, it's not rip and replace, I think is critical. Any sort of thoughts on sort of practical use cases worth sharing?
Yeah. I think one of our advantages is we run right over what you got. We run over TLS, so we kind of double wrap post quantum over TLS. Worst case, you still have TLS. So in terms of applications, we see a lot of stuff in space. We're working on a lot of use cases in aerospace, and that's ship to shore or ground to air communications. A lot of endpoint, a lot of cloud to cloud or edge cloud. So if I have a large organization, think of us like SoftQKD. I can secure and control, multi-cloud. And then, you get into applications like where you want an air gap solution. Like I have an ATM network for a bank and I want it closed off, but I want it to interoperate. So the applications in banking are literally everything from ATM, just controlling your core assets. In energy, they've got a lot of OT and IoT. So it's like, how do I secure an oil field? How do I secure oil production? How do I secure energy production? We all have these RTUs in our neighborhoods that control the energy flow into our house. How do I upgrade them to this next generation cryptographic module and do it easily? So we're seeing a lot of early adopters for crypto modernization, or I have a really high secure environment that cannot be hacked, and that's the energy devices going into your house. And so we provide a really easy solution to upgrade you in that critical infrastructure and bring your operational technology up, IoT, and then you're supporting critical applications if you're pharma, it's where your core recipes are and things like.
The important data that keeps the wheels turning, kind of like the PKI underneath it all. Um,
Absolutely.
to close it out here, I'd love to hear your sort of words of wisdom and encouragement for technology folks and business folks alike, kind of bringing this up the level to really think about the value and the business advantage, even in many cases, of considering this crypto modernization challenge, and specifically, engaging with Keyfactor and partner with Keysecure. Really, how does this approach advance the business at the end of the day?
Yeah, and like I said, I was a CIO, so I came at it from that side. I think one of the big risk factors we have is, only like 25% of the companies are tracking crypto on their network. So, Keyfactor has a great ability to inventory and analyze, as does QSecure. So, just from a compliance perspective, just having an understanding of what's happening, and then policy enforcement, because we're seeing a lot of compliance regiments, FIDO, DORA, PCI, that are now mandating crypto agility. So having the ability then to enforce, so we've discovered we've got issues, we've got vulnerable crypto, and then the ability to enforce policy, it becomes a compliance regimen. And we're seeing a lot of activity being driven by, regulators saying you need to now focus on fine-grained crypto agility. We were talking to a large bank, and they said the regulators are telling them you need to go to crypto agility and post quantum. And they're like, we've never even heard them mention it. Now all of a sudden it's a super important thing, because I think one thing they're finding is that these vulnerabilities can look like the next malware explosion, where we just don't know what's out there. Once it's hacked, once quantum computers come online, then it's like malware. It's like a huge malware scenario. So being able to enforce policy and continuously discover, and so Keyfactor and Keysecure are a great combination to give you all that network visibility, give you the ability to enforce policy, extend out into the network and to any device you might be using.
Thanks, Dave. Well, really enjoyed our conversation today and excited to continue the discussion with anybody that wants to learn more about our solutions.
It's awesome. Thank you so much, Meg. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Dave and Meg. That was some amazing information. I'm always very interested to hear about novel approaches and novel concepts as we start talking about cryptography. And this is definitely a unique one. So, with that, I want to again thank Dave and Meg for joining us here today, as well as thanking you all for joining us as well. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to hit that QA button and toss anything in there. And make sure to join us for our last edition of the Technology Alliance Partners webinar series, where we're going to be talking about the role of the HSM in post quantum cryptography. We'll see you then.